Welcome to another Guide You Outdoors video. I'm out here in the Green Mountains of Vermont in Camel Hump State Park, and I'm gonna make a base camp and then do some skiing. Come along. Okay, here's base camp. I found a great area for a snow quinzee, which is a fancy word for a snow fort. And I picked this sloping hill here because I can move snow easier downhill. I need to stamp this down, pile up a bunch of snow, and then dig it out. And it'll be nice and solid because all those molecules will have bonded together as I mix the snow up. So let's get started. I'm making my shelter first because I know I have a warm place to sleep tonight. Also, you got to think about getting super warm, shoveling all this snow. So take off layers as you see fit. I mean, I'm not moving much snow with a little backcountry shovel. And all these chunks I've got to break down so they bond into the shelter and it creates a nice firm dome. Also, when I dig this out, a lot of my exterior layers are going to get super wet. So I may have to make a fire and dry all those out before nightfall. So a couple things to think about when making your quinzee. Let's get back to it. Alright, I've got the snow piled up and now I'm just going to wait a little bit and let that all set. Now's the fun part, we get to dig it out and make a little home inside. Make sure you have your waterproof layers on. Always in the big woods, when you leave familiar ground and step off alone into a new place, there'll be, along with the feelings of curiosity and excitement, a little nagging of dread. It is the ancient fear of the unknown, and it is your first bond with the wilderness you are going into. What you are doing is exploring. You are undertaking the first experience, not of the place, but of yourself in that place. It is an experience of our essential loneliness. For nobody can discover the world for anybody else. It is only after we have discovered it for ourselves that it becomes a common ground and a common bond, and we cease to be alone. I'm getting some good depth in there, and I don't want to sacrifice the integrity of that dome structure by breaking out a wall. So I'm going to take these sticks, about 6 inches to 12 inches long, and stick them in, maybe 4 inches. And if I hit that stick, I know, don't dig anymore. I'm too close to a wall. So just going around the structure, and put these in every couple feet. And they'll act as great guides. Okay, for the most part it's dug out, and now just to block off against the wind a little more in the cold, I'm gonna make a nice little entrance here so I don't quickly lose heat out here. And it'll make it pretty difficult to get in and out, but it's worth it having that extra warmth. Just weaving sticks in here so I can build snow up. blocks of snow and use those to fill in the gaps. So we're inside. I've got an elevated floor that I need to pack down a little more. Then I'll put my tarp down and load all my stuff in. I've got this right here, kind of slopes downward, and I call it a cold sink because cold sinks. And that's what we want this place to do. We want the cold to leave out the door, and we want the warmth to stay in this nice enclosed area. Now I've got my shelter made, but before I go skiing, my gloves and from the knees down are pretty soaked. So I'm gonna dry that out. I'm gonna get a fire going. Another reason I picked this site is because of this nice dead tree behind me that has fallen over. In my last winter solo, I tore down a tree and made a bow drill set out of it to start the fire. But I've already exhausted myself making this snow quinzee, and I'm already wet. So we need a fire, and we need one quickly. And I've made these fire starters. These are easy to make at your home. All you need is an egg crate shell, some sawdust, some old candles, and a crock pot. And you just break up the candles, wicks and all, throw them in the crock pot, and then add a bunch of sawdust when it's all melted and pour it into your egg carton. So I'm just going to set it in here, light the cardboard, and this will burn hot enough to start my fire quite easily. So we just put our kindling over it, and look at that thing go. It's like cheating almost. I've gotten a lot of comments asking about Summit safety in the winter. Some asking why he doesn't have boots or a coat, and others saying I need to put a hat on him and I'm a horrible person. And so let's talk about Summit in the winter here. I mushed Alaskan Huskies for a winter and really learned how evolution favored these dogs to live in these conditions and thrive. And first starts with their feet. We tend to humanize our animals because they're our best friends and we love them, and sometimes they act pretty human, but we got to remember they're not human. And when our feet get cold, that doesn't necessarily mean their feet are cold. They've got these huge fatty pads down on their feet, and they're able to pump blood down there and warm it before it returns back to the body, preventing both their feet and their core from getting cold. If you notice your dog licking at his paws a lot, check these hairs in between these pads, and sometimes the ice will build up on these. And if you see that happening, you can cut those hairs out or get a product called Musher's Wax and apply that to the pads. Summit's got a beautiful coat and this two-tone to it, and that's because there's two layers of fur here. There's an inner layer and this long outer layer, and that really keeps him warm. You'll see him just lay in the snow and not even notice it. Now, if you have a dog that has short hair like a pit bull, it might not be the best to bring him out here for long periods of time, like my faithful pal Summit. All right, now that we've talked about this guy, let's talk about keeping us warm. We, on the other hand, don't have a natural coat, and we need layers. So let's get those on. This is mostly ibex wool, Vermont company. Got a tight base layer. Woo! Long johns of some sort. I like wool again. Another tight long sleeve base layer. A wool t-shirt. Another long sleeve. Now onto our waterproof pants. And I've got a down puffy. This zip that up. A neck warmer, something to keep the wind off my face. And then my final shell jacket. And find a good pair of boots. I like Baffin boots in the winter because they have a huge insulated liner. Alright. With many layers you adjust accordingly. If you're skinning up and getting hot, you don't want to sweat, so you take off a layer, keep going, get hot, take off a layer, get to the top, put it all back on, ski down. Also, things that are nice features are pit zips in your jackets, and also zips down here to ventilate your legs if those get hot. So all about venting and keeping cool and not sweating, because that sweat is going to hurt us later when we roll into camp and are all wet. Okay, I've got shelter. I have warmth drying out here, and with that warmth I'm going to start thinking about water. Now, it's not as simple as just scooping snow into your pan and throwing it on there, because snow will actually burn. So you want to start with some water. And a couple of ways to prevent your water from freezing is either a hydro flask, which has a double wall insulation, or go to your gear store and pick up one of these little cozies for your water bottle. This has literally been sitting in the snow the whole time, and you know, it's great. No ice in there. So just pour a little water, just need a little to get it started, and then we can start loading snow in here and slowly melting it. Another pro tip when dealing with fire, your ski gloves are usually made of nylon, and getting them near fire, either sparks or touching a log, can burn a hole and render them useless. So get yourself a pair of nice leather gloves that are insulated, and they're great for moving the fire around, moving the logs around, also grabbing your hot pans out of the fire. Just grab them with these things. Make sure they're insulated and a thick leather. These were sent to me by Wells Lamont. They're 100-gram insulation, and so far pretty good, but let's get them in the fire and really test them. So I've got some water in there and just load it up with snow. And we just throw that right in there. Whew. I just remembered another pro tip. Ski goggles are amazing around fires because they keep the smoke out of your eyes. And as we know, the rule of smoke is wherever you go, smoke will follow. So instead of moving constantly, I'm just gonna rock these. Some may be thinking, okay, I like camping, I get it, but why winter camping? Why build a frozen coffin and sleep in it for the night? Winter is one of my favorite times to camp, actually. And as long as you have a great sleeping bag and a cool shelter or a nice tent, have a nice fire and good food, you can really enjoy it out here. For one, the silence. The snow muffles sound. I can't hear anything except the occasional cracking of a tree. It's kind of beautiful. How often in our life do we just have no sound, this sound of isolation? And it may seem so quiet and isolated out here. You won't see any animals or hear any animals, but you'll see signs of them everywhere. You can see their tracks crisscrossing your own paths or using the hiking trail to get around, and it's really amazing to see. And also, without all the shrubbery and the leaves on the trees, you can see for super far. In the summer, it's just a forest of green with all the shrubbery and the trees. You can see about 20 feet, and here you can see hundreds of feet, which is pretty amazing. Well, looks like my water has filled up, so I'm gonna pour some in a bowl. See if we want some water, and we'll just cool it down by putting some snow in it. Ready? Good boy. Welcome inside the Quinzhee. We've got a nice setup here with a tarp laid down. I bought a child-sized sleeping bag for Summit, so he can curl up in there, and then I'm going to throw my bag over the both of us. How's that sound? One more thing, got a hot water bottle for if I get cold in the night. Not only keep my bag warm, but also drink from in the night. You ready to go to bed? Come on, lie down. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, and with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense. This day is all that is good and fair. It is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on yesterdays.
Ooh, it's snowing. Good day to ski.
For those of you wondering about my setup, these are just regular skis with AT bindings and what are called skins. And it's basically a one-way carpet where it's nice and smooth going forward, but back it's rough and the hairs are all going that one way. And it's just got a glue side that sticks onto your skis. Real simple concept. I just rip them off like thus. And it has a special binding that unclips the heel so you can walk in your skis. And then it's got these little pieces for different rise settings. And so we gotta thoroughly clean this out, any crystallized snow in here, and clip this heel back in so we can use it like a normal ski. There we go. There's one ski.